Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another 10-minute trades. This is episode 3, and in my prior video it was requested that I do rocket companies, ticker symbol RKT. So that's what I'm going to do today, and this is going to be a tough one because RKT just started trading and became publicly traded on August 6th. So we don't have a lot of data to work with. You can see there is no 50-day moving average because this stock hasn't been trading for 50 days. But there is a little bit of a squiggle here. This orange line represents the 21-day moving average, which again, it's been trading for 21 days and then you can start seeing that data forming. But we'll make do with what we have so far. We also had an earnings session that happened on September 2nd recently, and you can see the stock sold off after earnings. But also at that same time on September 2nd is when we had this recent correction in the whole market overall. So that could have been due to that as well. So let's just take a look at this sticker symbol here and do a little bit of due diligence. So the first thing I noticed is let's draw some Fibonacci retracements. So I drew it from basically its first day of trading, which was on August 6th. And then I used that as the low, which it is the low. And I used this peak here on September 2nd as the high. And right now you can see we actually were down today. RKT ended up in the red, closing at 23.36. It was actually down 1.4% today. But the first thing I noticed is that right now, the 61.8% Fibonacci level is acting as if it's a resistance line because there's this candle here, which looks like was a little bit of a resistance back on August 20th. But more recently, in the past 5 or 6 trading days, you can see the candles are struggling to get past this 61.8% Fibonacci level, which is at about just shy of $24. And you can see today we did bounce up it. The wick even got as high as about $24.50, but then we ended up closing the day below this 61.8% Fibonacci level. So I do think right now that 61.8%, which is at a share price of roughly $24, is an area of resistance right now. But let's just hide this for right now, just to not clutter the graph. I think there are some other areas of support and resistance here. So I think there's also an area of resistance a little bit higher than that Fibonacci level right here, just shy of $25, maybe around $24.85. As you can see, these wicks here have gotten awfully close to touching this level, but the stock never closes above that in recent trading. And even here, the bottom of the candle, this was when it was support and it bounced off and above it. And then even back on its third day of trading, you can see the wick got just up to 25, but then ended closing way below it all the way down in the 21, 22 range. So I think 24, 25-ish are levels of resistance. 24 because that's where the 61.8% Fibonacci level is. And I think 25-ish because that's where all of these wicks seem to have been testing recently, but have not been able to break through. Now, I think if we do break through like $25 or so, I think there might be another area of resistance up around 27 because again, you can see the top of this candle here, this wick was just at around 27. You have the bottom of this candle here, and you have these wicks here where you can see when the stock was very bullish, trading in the high 20s, low 30s, it was using some support level here and bouncing off around 27 to stay and trade above it. But I think right now, because we've traded below it, what was once support is now resistance. Now, again, drawing a third level here, I think this is our current support level on RKT, which is going to be a little bit above $22, $22 and some change, because you can see the bottom of this wick here on August 20th, and most recently, some of these wicks here, for example, on September 11th, September 8th, and September 4th, got awfully close to testing about $22 and then bounced right off it. So I think right now, based on this data from the past 5 trading days, I think RKT is supported at a price level of $22 and has a resistance around just shy of $24, $25 based on the Fibonacci retracement and this trend line, or I should say support line. Now, the one nice thing about RKT is I still think we are overall in a bullish trend, because if I draw a parallel channel from the bottom of this wick here on the first day of trading to the most recent low, which was just over $22 on September 11th, and I draw the parallel channel above it all the way up to its all-time high back on September 2nd, this channel is overall trending up and to the right. So I think we are still in a rising or bullish pattern on RKT. I think if in the next few trading days, if we trade below about $23, we can estimate it at around $22.95. Tomorrow, maybe around $23 the next day. If we break below this trend line here, then I think we are now in bearish territory. But I think currently, even though we are at the bottom of this channel, we are still in an upwards sloping channel. So I think we are still bullish. Now, not financial advice, of course, but if you are bullish on this ticker on fundamentals as well, this might be a good point to go long, or at least midterm on the shock, to swing trade it potentially, because we are trading at the bottom of this channel. So if you believe that this trend line will hold up, then the stock has nowhere else to go but up and more into the middle of the channel. So this may be a good entry point if you want to buy long shares, or if you want to sell some cash secured puts below this trend line because you think it's going to act as resistance. I mean, personally, if I were to open up a cash secured put, and again, this is not financial advice, but I would look at getting into something in the $21 range at most, because then you are below this trend line here. You are also below this theoretical support line. So in my opinion, it would take a lot of oomph for RKT to go down and possibly test your strike at 21 or below. But again, not financial advice. This is just what I'm seeing based on my very basic technical analysis that I'm doing here. But that pretty much sums it up for RKT. I will turn on the fib retracement just so you can see where all the support and trend lines are. Yes, it does look a little bit cluttered, a little bit messy, but like I said, it looks like right now we are trading between about $22 and $24 to $25 as resistance. So now if you want to sell covered calls, for example, if you already own shares and you don't want your shares to get called away, then I think I would want to sell covered calls at around $25 or $26 at least. That way, again, RKT would have to blast past this Fibonacci retracement level at 61.8%, but also go above my trend line that I drew here at around $24, $25. And if you wanted to be extra safe, you could even go above $27 because, like I said, I think there is another resistance level here at 27. But let me know in the YouTube comment section below if you have similar TA that you've done on RKT. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And also let me know what ticker you would like to see on the next episode of 10-Minute Trades. Now, just as a follow-up from my most recent episode on Apple that I did last night, if you weren't familiar, Apple had its conference today. It was a case of buy the rumor, sell the news, because as we can see, if I clean this up a little bit, let's get rid of some of this Fibonacci retracements. Let's get rid of some of these trend lines just to clean it up and make it easier to see. But I think right now, you can see I had a resistance line that I had drawn at about 116. So we did rise above 116 today during intraday trading, all the way as high as 118. But as you can see, we closed red. Actually, Apple was up 0.2% on the day. But as you can see, we did end up closing below my resistance line at 116. We ended up closing at right about 115 and some change. So as of right now, the other thing to keep in mind is that Apple also tried to break out of this downward trend line, right? This candle rose above this trend line, but I don't think it stuck because as you can see, we ended up closing right on that trend line. Now, if I really wanted to, I could extend this out and maybe make this trend line wider, for example, by taking this data point here and extending it out so it incorporates today's candle. Now, if we do that, we are still in a bearish downtrend, but we'll have to wait and see. Let me just reset that, see what happens, because right now it seems like 116 is a rather strong resistance level for Apple, but I still believe that 109 is a support level. And we are nearing the 50-day moving average here. We're still trading above it, but still trading below the 21-day moving average. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow, especially because the Fed meeting happens tomorrow and Thursday. to see what Apple can do. If it can again try and break past this resistance level and this downward trend and get more of a bullish trend going. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Again, as always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and happy trading.